everyone, my name is Crochet. As you've seen in the title, this video is about the teacher certification exam for TExES and the requirements, different tips, different resources that you can use in order to pass. A little bit about me: I am a senior pre-service teacher in TExES. It's pretty much a semester before you student teach, but the semester is over now and I will begin my student teaching this coming up spring. So next week is when I will begin student teaching in the schools for 4 months, 40 hours a week. We do have clinical teaching orientation this coming up Friday, and I am going to vlog that. It's going to be just like a student teacher handbook, the different instructions on what we need to do for lessons. Or the tests that I have to take are the EC36 core, which would be in that test. It would be science, social studies, math, ELAR or English language arts reading, and the fine arts. Each section of that test is timed. I don't remember the exact thing. Math is an hour, social studies is 45 minutes, science is 45 minutes, ELAR is like almost 2 hours, and then fine arts I think it's 45 minutes long, either 30 or 45 minutes. But that's another reason you have to take in these tips or anyone else's advice before taking that test, because it is timed. So I have to take that EC36 core. I also have to take the pedagogy and professional responsibilities test, and we call it the PPR. And then we have to take the English as a second language test, and that's to be ESL certified. So the PPR and the ESL test are both 3 hours long, in which you might not take that long if you do use the strategies that I recommend, but if so, I do recommend you take your time. So each one of those tests would be $116. So the EC36 core, the pedagogy, or the PPR, pedagogy and responsibilities, and the ESL test are all $116 each. So if you are a college student who still has school and you are struggling, I definitely recommend you go ahead and begin to start saving up money for those tests, because if you're not really thinking about it and you're just studying and not thinking about paying for the test, and you really don't have money like me, it can be a little difficult to go ahead and pay for those all at one time. So again, I do recommend you save your money ahead of time before thinking about paying for your test. My school certification requires you to pass the EC36 core and the PPR before you student teach. A lot of surrounding colleges here in Texas do not require you to pass it before student teaching, but for some reason, our education program at my school requires you to pass it before student teaching, which can make it a time crunch, because if you do not pass it before our clinical teaching orientation, which is this coming up Friday, then you will not be able to clinical teach. You'll have to wait a whole nother semester, and then after that semester you're able to student teach. So essentially you're waiting a whole nother year to graduate and teach, which sucks. So if your school is like that, please, I do recommend, I'm going to say this 100 times through this whole video, do not procrastinate in studying for your test. Do not procrastinate in taking the test. Do not procrastinate it. Begin now. If you have a while before you're needing to take it, start now. Start testing. My school requires you to be released. So as soon as your professors, as soon as your school releases you to test, you should be ready to take that test. So if it means studying now, start studying now, okay? Trust me, guys, study now. Right, they require you to pass the test before clinical teaching, so it is a little, to me, a little more difficult, because we still have classes, we're still taking other classes, doing assignments, and then you're having to study for this test. So if your program is like that, y'all, I don't know how much I can stress. Do not wait, do not procrastinate with studying for these tests. So I'm not saying they're super hard. I'm just saying it's so broad and you just need to review a lot of information. So it's best to be ahead of the game and go ahead and study, okay? Some tips and resources I have. So just to start off, I will let you know that I did not pass my EC through 6 core the first time because guess what? I was one of those people who did not study when they told us to study. And I waited to the last minute and yeah. I mean, obviously I passed it before clinical teaching, but it just was a lot more stress when it was time crunched. So I am letting you know that it will be difficult if you wait the last minute. So I did not pass I passed the fine arts and I passed the ELAR. I did not pass those studies. I did not pass science. I did not pass the math. And the only reason I didn't pass math was because I ran out of time. I had 30 seconds to answer 10 questions. So I literally click any, mini, mighty, mo for those. And you are required to get a 240 on your test to pass. And I got a 235 on the math. On the science, I got a 230. No, on science, I had a 224. And on social studies, I got a 235. Now, this is with me studying the last 3 days. Barely even that. I'm going to be honest, I really did not study for the test. Our school gave us a year to study, and I did not study for the test. So that's completely my fault. It wasn't necessarily like a waste of money because I can see what they're asking, but it was just, y'all, I beat myself up all the time because I'm just like, Krishay, you could have literally saved the stress if you would have just followed directions and did not wait. The different resources that I used. Okay, so these are resources that I've used. I'm gonna tell you what I've used and what I recommend. The resources that I used were Certified Teach, the 240 tutoring, a 6th grade social studies books, STAR tests, like previous STAR tests, and I used notes from school, and then also I use notes like YouTube videos, okay? So I recommend all of those except Certified Teach. Our school requires us to use Certified Teach before we're able to be released to test. I do not recommend Certified Teach. There's a lot of girls that at my school who are in our program who do not recommend you use Certified Teach, okay? The main reason is everything is repetitive, okay? So in the beginning, when you do start studying for it or studying it and you begin taking the tests, the quizzes, yeah, it gives you that it gives you that just an idea of what you're going to see on the test. So yeah, in the beginning it's cool, but when you're studying, it's gonna be the same questions, and it's like, okay, I need something different. That's the only thing I mean, it worked out because it's with my school, it was free to use Certified Teach. And I'm not sure how it is about other Texas schools, but it was free. So that was great and all, but it didn't work. It did not help. And everybody at my school literally have let me know that it did not help them. There are some people who said that it helped, but the most people that I've talked to said that Certified Teach did not help them. Okay, so I don't recommend it especially if you're having to use your money for it. I don't recommend it. If you're needing to pay for something, I recommend 240 tutoring. Hands down, 240 tutoring will work. 240 tutoring will help you pass. Okay, if you go through each section, look at the notes. They have notes, y'all. They have notes. They have quizzes. They have flashcards. They have everything. Now, Certified Teach had a quiz, but it's like one quiz per competency. With 240, they have more than one quiz, y'all. You can literally look at the questions and study the questions. But that they also have notes. They have notes that you need to know, and these are taken directly from previous tests that 240 Tutoring uses. Okay, this is not a promotion. This is not, they're not sponsoring anything. I'm just letting you know that 240 Tutoring works. Now it can get a little expensive. It's $40 a month, but it is worth it. I only used it for 1 month. Okay, the last month, the month before I student taught, or before I student taught, the month before I took the test. Okay, and I was fine. Okay, so I do recommend 240 Tutoring hands down for all subjects. So I also use, for social studies, I use 6th grade social studies books. Now, if you are like observing in the schools, I recommend you go to like the library or go to like a 6th grade teacher's classroom and just ask to borrow the social studies books. Or you can go to like a thrift store or like a half price bookstore to get the 6th grade social studies books. Those will work. I've heard from someone, I don't know how true it is, but someone have said that the higher like the highest grade that you are of your certification is what they're going to test you on the test. So for example, EC through 6th grade. 6th grade is what they're mostly going to test you on in social studies and science and math. And then if you're like 4th through 8, the 8th grade is the highest. It's what they're going to test. That's the, from what someone told me. I don't know how true it is, but if so, I did study 6th grade and I passed. So, and then also previous STAR tests. So if you're not sure, if you're not from Texas, STAR test is pretty much our state test, the state test for Texas. So you can go online and print out previous STAR tests, study those. They have the answers on there. You can quiz yourself. Those are also what I believe they take from the test. YouTube videos. YouTube videos helps a ton, whether it's for any subject, math, social studies, science, fine arts. Use YouTube. YouTube has evolved so much, and I believe that it is literally a school. It teaches you everything. So the two main things I used for YouTube were these two videos. It was for science and so for social studies. I will put their links in the description box, but it's two different professors. No, one of them is a high school teacher. For science, he's a high school teacher for science, and he does like 5 to 10 minute just for each competency that you have to test over. He does 5 to 10 minute videos, just a review on what you need to know for the test.
YouTube channel, my name is Michael Hayes. In this series of videos, we're helping you guys prepare for the EC6 Subject Core exam as you prepare to become a TExES educator. Right now we're focusing on science, but more specifically in this episode, we're looking at electricity coming up next.
He's really good, y'all. Really, really, really good. Like, I used those and I passed. Those were the basis of why I passed, were from those two YouTube videos. Use those two videos, okay? And then the other one is a social studies video, and it's, I think he's a professor, and he goes through each, for EC through 6 core social studies, he goes through each thing that you need to know.
We've talked about European exploration and settlement of North America. We did that back in the videos, early in the videos on U.S. history. Now we're going to focus just on European exploration and settlement of Texas. And we're going to do it like we did the other one. We're going to focus on the who, what, where, when, why. Right? I think that's going to help. That's going to make it a little bit easier for you to remember. In this case, the who is just for our purposes
for the test. So y'all, use those videos, especially if you're the person who's procrastinating right now and you take the test tomorrow. Dude, it's okay. It happens. Like, it happens. But if you are one of those people, I am telling you, look at those videos if you need help with social studies and science. Like, look at those videos, because most people, when they take it, they pass math, reading, and the fine arts. But social studies and science, I'm finding from several different people, social studies and science is what they fail in the beginning. So I do recommend you go ahead and look at those videos if you're needing help with that. And then lastly, notes from your education class. Notes from those will help you. Especially with ELAR, any of the reading classes you take, different ideas and different strategies, those are all on there. Those are that you use from, or that you learn from school. Use those, okay? Alrighty, so those are resources. Here are some tips that I recommend in order to pass your test. Number 1.
Do not wait until the last minute to study for your test.
Okay, I've probably said this 100 times in this video, and I think you probably get the point. Don't wait till the last minute. Please don't. Please don't. Some people are geniuses, and they can study one day and they will pass the entire test. But if you're not like that, guys, please, please, please do not wait till the last minute.
Do not procrastinate.
That's all I'm going to say. That's my last thing I'm going to say about that. But I'm letting you know, do not wait till the last minute. Tip number 2. Use some sort of website, like Certified Teacher 240 Tutoring, to test. So do like a practice test or a pre-test so that you can know what competencies you need in order to study for. So each test is broken into competencies, and that's like areas of that subject that you need to know, okay? So for example, for social studies, competency 1 is social science and instruction, and that is pretty much like how you teach social studies. And then competency 2 is history, so like history, world history, U.S. history, and then if for the state of Texas, it'll be Texas history, okay? So just look at those competencies, and then when you take your practice test, it'll let you know what competencies you need help on. So like if for competency 1, let's say I scored a 4 out of 5, 4 questions I got right out of 5 questions. Well, guess what? I'm not really going to study for that competency because clearly, I missed 1. But now let's see competency 3, I got 1 right out of 5 questions. Okay, I for sure need to study that competency. So that just helps like condense what you need to study and just gives you more time and makes your studying a little more productive. Tip number 3, take notes. Take notes, take notes, take notes. If you know there's something, I remember the competency I really needed help on was geography. Like I knew nothing about geography. So what I did was I drew out maps and I labeled it, and I just use those notes. You can take them anywhere. If you have nothing to do, I'm a server, and so if my tables are good, they're chilling, their drinks are refilled, and I have time, I can just sit back and just open my server book, and I have notes right there. I can look at the geographies instead of geography. So take notes, they will be helpful. Also exchange those notes with your classmates. Use each other's notes. Tip number 4, stay focused, guys. Stay focused, stay focused, stay focused while you're studying. Put your phone up. Put your phone up while you're studying. I definitely recommend not timing, but giving yourself a set amount of time to study for the test. So what I did was I set aside 2 hours a day. So for 2 hours, I'm going to study for this competency, for this competency. For the next day, for 2 hours, I'm going to study for this competency. Give your time, put your phone up, turn your phone off, designate that time for studying. It makes you feel good that you're actually studying, and also it makes you be more productive. And then tip number 5, break your studying up into chunks. And I think I've just explained that. After I took my pre-test, I wrote out the competencies that I needed to study for. So competency 1, I needed 3, 5, 7 for social studies. Okay, so for these next 5 days or 4 days, I'm going to study for this competency, this competency, this competency. Then I'll do social studies. Then I'll do science. Then I'll do math. So make sure you break those up into chunks. If you do try to study just so much in one day, honestly, you're not going to be productive. Lastly, tip number 6, be supportive of your classmates. Y'all, like, be supportive of everyone. There's going to be people who do not pass the first time or the second time or maybe even the third time. But be supportive of everyone, okay? This is hard, y'all. This is hard, especially if you're still having to have assignments, you're still having school. and other things to do. Like we have a life, obviously. We have other things outside of it. We have work, especially if you're not a traditional student. I'm no longer a traditional student. So I work full-time and I go to school full-time, okay? So if you're one of those people and you're needing just that someone to just encourage you, be that person to encourage your classmates. And guys, it has been a journey. If you are, especially if you're at your senior year, it has been a long road, okay? And you are here. You are almost there, okay? I just recommend you go ahead, get that out of the way, get that test out of the way. It just lifts a whole load off of your shoulder. And if you're the last person, and if you're waiting to the last minute, look at those 2 videos for social studies. Look at different quizzes, look at notes, okay? And just look at different YouTube videos for anything you need help on, okay? I will record a video on different tips and tricks for taking the test soon. If you're taking the exam soon, good luck, good luck, good luck. Take your time, use process of elimination, okay? I think they say out of 4 answers, there are 2 that are right. There are 2 that are dead wrong, okay? The 2 that are right, there's one that's really good and there's one that's really, really good, okay? So let's just, out of those 2 that are right or that look good for those answer choices, look at the one that is student-centered and that revolves around the student, not necessarily the teacher. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If this was helpful, please click the like button. Go ahead and comment below if you have any questions for me or any tips that you can give to me to give to someone else. Thank you for watching. And if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you. Go ahead and subscribe. This is actually my first YouTube video. So again, thank you for watching to the end. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.